Oh, I see the link.
Yes, yes, yes. Hello, hello, my dear friends and family. Operator Starsky joins the chat together with my good friend James. How are you?
I'm well. I'm very well. Sitting here in Ukraine, living the life.
So I know that my audience is partially also your audience, but to those who don't know you, and let me remove this text just briefly. To those who see us for the first time, can you please introduce yourself?
Yeah. So I'm James, and I am a soldier in the Ukrainian Armed Forces, specifically in the Azov Corps, 12th Special Purpose Brigade, 3rd International Battalion, and I'm head of the fiber optic FPV drone laboratory for my battalion.
So good to see you. My dear friends, today we will have friendly chat and talk a bit about the recent disaster that struck Russian terrorists. And they keep crying even today. Even today, I saw a bunch of like Russian messages in the Telegram channels, literally mourning the loss of their
it
Starlink
it
connection.
truly breaks my heart.
You have no idea. I would play the tiniest violin possible if I had one.
Yeah.
So, before we talk about whatever else, can you tell us
Mhm.
just a bit what you're busy with lately and generally what you do?
Yeah. So, in I have a laboratory that we're building. We've just finished building. Kind of, um, it's a little bit like building the railroad while the train's coming down the tracks, and we started producing fiber optic drones. Um, Now, previously, like I think the last time I spoke to you was on we were on UATV English, and I was working with a different unit in a different laboratory and working on a different project, but that's kind of related to what we're going to talk about today. And since then, I've gotten to work. I went and joined Azov and got to work in the laboratory, build it up, and now build up the fiber optic side of of the international battalion. So it's pretty exciting.
Sounds cool. And what about that, your previous project, the sub substitution,
Yeah,
supplantion?
replacing Starlink
Yeah,
basically, and I think it's very timely to talk about it because while it's great that Elon Musk switched off the Russian Starlink, it goes to show how easy it could have. The shoe could be on the other foot tomorrow. You know, and I mean, not even on purpose. Okay, I mean, a malfunction could happen. Starlink gets hacked, something of that nature, and then all of a sudden, it's switched off for us too. And so that's why I have continued to encourage my own unit and others to have a backup, have a failover system. When these problems occur, because it doesn't have to happen across the board. It doesn't have to happen across all of Ukraine. It can happen in small pieces due to various electronic warfare or just electronic interference. Um, can, I see Salt of the Red Earth. James was probably voted most likely to build a secret lab in high school. Funny. Mm. Yeah. So yeah, now I've built a couple of secret labs. So there you are. But yeah, so it should be a wake up call actually to the Ukrainian side as well, because for example, a lot of the um, Ukrainian Starlinks that were not registered properly or unregistered, they're not whitelisted, and it's causing some disruption on our side as well. So this like I said, it just needs to be a wake up call now. The project that I was working on for to replace Starlink, obviously my previous battalion, continued that, and that other units do have those systems in place. I'm just promoting the idea that it needs to be more systematic and more broad, um, and more alternatives. in place for that.
Just so our viewers could understand, can you please explain how crucial is Starlink today for Ukrainian army?
Oh, I mean, well, good God, I mean, look at the Russians right now. Okay, um, their command and control is basically in complete disarray, effectively like just like switched off. You know, um, their drone positions in particular have virtually no intelligence, or the intelligence is much slower than it could be or should be. Um, and uh, these are real risks on the battlefield, and it happened because Starlink is easy to use. Have the Russians already complained to Starlink customer support? I certainly hope they have. Um, but it's sort of like, if you don't know and you don't want to know how networks work, how the internet works, then yeah, you can just plug in the Starlink, log in, and then it just works, and you don't have to worry about it. You don't have to worry about running cable anywhere or putting up any sort of connections, calling in a network engineer, or doing anything like that. Network connectivity, um, or the internet, I guess it's a little bit like plumbing. The plumbing in your house or in a building. Nobody wants to think about how it really works until everything goes to shit, and then everybody's hair's on fire all at the same time. And so that's what's happening. That's what's happening on the Russian side, and that's why the Ukrainian side needs to equally. I'm not saying you should stop using Starlink. Just have a backup, have something else in place, ready to go. And in many cases, it would save you money, because Starlink can cost it's like $100 a month, $500 worth of equipment, and you could install a, even actually a better, in some cases, for specific situations, um, better equipment for almost for free, that would like give you almost like free internet. If you are a frontline, like for example a drone unit, a blindage, a bunker that's very close to the zero line, Starlink might be your almost your only option. And then that is a place where I would say, yeah, you got to have it, and there's no backup for that. But all the other, command posts and everything else that are 20, 30 kilometers away from the zero line, that Starlink is just laziness, and expensive laziness too.
100%. So I have a question. Yeah, it wasn't me. It's about $100 a month. In Ukraine, it was
Yeah,
something like 70, I believe, a couple of years ago. Generally, it's around $100. Um,
something like
we have we have a question, which, by the way, resonates with my questions as well. Why did it take so long for Russia to be banned from Starlink? I mean, the Ruskies has used it for years. I am actually surprised. Like, I knew that they were using Starlinks here and
that.
there, but I didn't know the scale, because it
Oh yeah.
turns out that their whole freaking command, like on the command level, they were using Starlink to command their troops, to send and receive intelligence, to send and receive data, to control drones, basically everything. How crazy is that? And the question is, maybe you can explain, how is it even freaking possible that Russians were using Starlink in
Hmm.
I'm not even asking where they got them. All right, like
Hmm.
fuck that. But uh, how is it possible that Russians used Starlink in
Yeah.
Russia, which
Yeah.
they were not supposed to?
Yeah. It's kind of like Russians using Instagram, or YouTube. I mean, so right. Here's the thing I would say about it, right? Is everybody right now is going, oh, yay, Starlink is turned off for Russia. But what does that really actually indicate? It means that, first of all, there's no such thing as being neutral. And this is the point that I think a lot of people want to say, oh, well, I'm neutral in this war. I don't want to take sides. And I think that that's ultimately what Starlink was doing, was saying, oh, I'm not taking sides in this war. Neutrality means supporting the aggressor. Okay, just that simple. If you are, if you are walking down the street and you see, an old lady getting punched in the face, and you say, "Oh, I'm neutral. I don't want to get involved," then you're helping. You're helping the aggressor there. You're hurting the victim. And so I think we need to recognize, and it will be recognized historically, that for the first part of this war, actually, Starlink was helping Russia, by default. And, I think it'll take a long time for them to live that down. I think that people will slowly come to that realization. Um, how it happened is, well, okay, so, um, they like, a lot of accounts were like through like Abu Dhabi. I guess they banned Russians from setting up accounts from the territory of Russia, but they just got the equipment from Abu Dhabi, or I don't know, wherever they get them from, and then they just used a VPN to do the login, something of that nature. But the fact of the matter is that, as a network engineer, I in America, I set up and maintained, a wireless, residential and institutional, internet service provider across a pretty broad area of the southwestern United States. So, like, imagine from like Albuquerque to the Grand Canyon, northern Arizona up into Utah, that kind of, and thousands of customers. I could tell where my customers were, at least, if not by looking them up in the database and seeing, what their address was, based on where they were connected from, what node they were connected to, what antenna they were connected to, and I knew where all my antennas were. And I could say, this guy is in this general area. Starlink can do the exact same thing. Okay, and they could have been doing the exact same thing this whole time. And in fact, all of these Shaheds that are traveling into Ukraine, carrying Starlinks on them, all right, any reasonably like mediocre, network technician would be able to watch those Shaheds traveling across Ukraine in near real time as they're connecting from one satellite to the next satellite to the next one to the next one, necessarily as they travel across. And the same is true. The same is actually true for our cellular services as well here in Ukraine. And they need to be stopping it there. And this is a problem that it's clear to me that Elon Musk doesn't understand, computer networking.
Seems so. I have no idea because yesterday we speculated on stream, and we talked that like I talked. All right, all right, they have a bunch of shaheds, for example, in Alabuga,
Mhm.
where they assemble them. All right, they have a bunch of Starlinks. Where do they connect those Starlinks? Do they install Starlinks on shaheds? In Alabuga, right? Because they need to
Mhm.
test them, they need to make sure that everything works, everything is launching, they
Right.
have connection and stuff. So basically, they have connection over Alabuga, right? And basically, Russia was connected to Star. So if you have Starlink in Russia, basically you can just use it.
I mean, yeah, if they're, I've if they're using like a VPN to make it look like they're in, some other country, then it might not show up as being in Alabuga or even in Russia when they do the actual connection. Okay, but I'm sorry, when they do the sign up and login is what I mean to say.
Mhm.
Um, but the physical connection of the Starlink, between the Starlink and the satellite, right? Only certain satellites can connect. When your satellite moves too far away or the Shahed moves too far away, then these guys are no longer connecting. So, as a network engineer, I know what's connected to this satellite, what's connected to this satellite, what's connected to that satellite, and I can look it up historically as well, and I can track it. They should be able to track it, and yeah, there's always workarounds. Obviously, there are ways to get around things. Maybe they're running some sort of a VPN on the Shaheds, which is possible. But even still, you can still track something. Oh, there's something moving between these satellites very rapidly, faster than a car. What is it? Is it a jet plane? Well, are there any commercial air flights over that part traveling from Russia to Ukraine? No, I don't think so. So it can only be one thing, and on that basis, they should have been shutting down these shaheeds long, long ago. The problem is, it's takes a little bit of work. Okay, it takes a reasonably intelligent person a little bit of work to actually do it, and it's clear that Starlink just didn't feel like paying anybody to do that. So it's much easier to just say, okay, we're just going to cut everybody off across the board, you know, um, everybody, all the connections that are in Russia, essentially. So it'll be interesting how the Russians figure out ways to work around it, because they will. It's a cat and mouse game. They'll figure out something, you know. But so this is a temporary delay, really.
Do you think they have something to supplant it with? Because again, yesterday we watched this absolutely cringy video from Belarus that actually shows potato Führer.
Oh God!
Yeah, potato Führer and the dude who actually designed something like replacement for Starlink in Belarus. And by the way, here on the table you can even see something that looks like this potato masher.
Yeah.
Yeah, that used to mash potato. And basically, this dude says that it would cost me, like, I don't know, only like half of my left kidney. And basically, it helps us connect to the internet and stuff. At the same time, like the Russian prices are freaking insane. For example, they have like their very own shed that is called Yamal. And it costs that's an old price, by the way. Currently, it costs something like 130,000 Russian rubles, or roughly like $1,500 per equipment. We are not including the subscription and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Do you think they can't supplant this Starlink, the whole network, all right, that their communication was built on? And how fast can they do that, if you have any information on that?
Yeah. I mean, okay. So Starlink has like 5,000 satellites or something flying around in LEO, low Earth orbit. There are other satellites. There's all sorts of, satellite internet has been around for a long time. It's very expensive for a reason, because there were a small number of satellites in like a geostationary orbit, something like that. That's how. So they're really large satellites, much farther away, and so they're much bigger. They require a lot more power, and they have less bandwidth. So it's more expensive. You're being charged like $5 per kilobit. Okay, and think about that. and the idea of streaming across that is just ridiculous. So they're going to have to really, really go on a diet as to where and how they implement those types of connections. There's other things like mesh networks and things, wireless mesh things, but those are all more susceptible to interference, electronic warfare. I mean, Starlink is too, and any sort of connection, it's a wireless connection, so it's going to be susceptible to some level of interference. And then there's stationary ground based microwave is the other option. Now, the problem with stationary ground based microwave is you got a big freaking tower or a pole with a big giant dish on it, which is kind of like what we saw, although I think that's actually a satellite dish. But and that has to be exposed. You can't have anything blocking it or covering it, because you don't want anything covering the signal or the radio waves, and then pointed at some location somewhere. And so that's a major target for our FPV operators, as you might imagine. So it's going to make things a lot more difficult, for sure.
We have a question from Cyber Beep Kenchi. Could you use the classic inertial system with a pre-programmed route, which needs no connection whatsoever? But like, I think that's the way the very first Shaheds operated, basically.
Yes, absolutely, and it's very common without you know, with static targets, and I've worked on those systems myself. Ukraine has some of those systems. In my first battalion, we worked on exactly those types of systems. They are limited in terms of their accuracy. Inertial navigation, Cheryl, James is in geek heaven, right? But yeah, so the inertial navigation has its limitations, and if you're off in your measurements by just a little, you can end up being off by tens of or hundreds of meters at the end of your flight path. you know. But that's why the first thing these Shaheeds had was, or one of the first things they have multiple sensor systems. That's one thing. They have different, hacking, war driving systems. So they're looking for open wireless networks, but they're also, in addition to the Starlink, they're also using Ukraine's own cellular data network system, which is amazingly good. In my opinion, like possibly the best in the world for the price. And so Sims, eSIMs or regular Sims here in Ukraine work mostly nationwide, and they're very easy to get. So spies or collaborators can easily get Sims from Ukraine and send them over to Russia and plug them into the and then when you're flying closer to cities and in the terminal phase of the flight path, they're doing the same thing, because that's the thing, right? So the Shahed, when you're flying with Starlink, right? You're that's when you're doing level flight, because when you go into your terminal phase or you have to take evasive maneuvers, then you're necessarily going to lose that connection to the satellite, which is directly above you or something within about a 30-degree angle. So that's the next thing that Ukraine needs to work on with its own like Vodafone, Kyivstar, LifeCell, these companies, to get those get that clamp down, because the same thing that I was talking about with being able to track Shaheds coming across Ukraine over the Starlink network, that can be tracked across the cellular network as well. It just takes a little investment of work and time.
Yeah, and we have another question. Can't the network be shut off at critical times? I think they're speaking about the cellular network. I think that's basically what Russians do, right?
Yeah.
Every single time there's a drone strike, Russians just shut down all their internet.
Yeah, and it happens here too. It might happen while we're on this live stream here. I'm in Ukraine and we're under constant assault here, especially where I am. And yeah, it's very common. I wouldn't say that it gets shut off here. It gets disrupted. So if you're streaming that, you don't have to shut it off completely. That's what the Russians do. They just shut it off completely. You don't have to shut it off completely. You just have to disrupt those communications. So because if you're flying, you're in an airplane, right? And you're trying to come in, and if the internet suddenly screws up and you lose that data, then you might go off this way or that way. So milliseconds of time is all it takes to disrupt the flight path of a fixed wing system. So we have constant disruptions here, and then that's not to mention GPS spoofing, or it puts you in Lima, Peru, or on the other side of the city or whatever. Pretty normal.
Yeah, Shahed just all of a sudden finds itself flying somewhere over, I don't know, Atlantic Ocean, and it goes like, oh shit, I gotta like fly just a bit to the left. By the way, inertial navigation. The very first Iranian Shaheds, they were using inertial navigation. Those like 3 or 5,000 Shaheds that were delivered to Russia in 2021,
Yep.
before the full scale. So they used completely inertial navigation, basically like German missiles, those very first missiles in the World War II. But that is crazy because such simple factor as wind, just throws your stuff like not even hundreds of meters, but like kilometers away, literally. Because if you're flying a trajectory that is as long as, I don't know, 1,000 well, all right, let's say like 700 kilometers, 500 kilometers, then constant wind blowing from like left to right with the speed of, I don't know, 5 knots,
Yeah,
only five
yeah.
knots,
So
that will just throw you away.
So there's a thing called a pitot tube, which a lot of modern airplanes have, and it's this little thing that kind of sticks out. You'll sometimes see it on jet planes, and it looks like a little, I don't know, it's a little thing kind of sticking out the side, about the size of like my finger, literally, with like a little hole in it, like it's a little tiny jet engine or something. But what that is actually for is to accurately measure the wind speed um, or in the area around the plane relative to the plane's travel. And so the pitot tube can be used to correct for that. So if you see a weird little thing like a little finger sticking out from under a plane's wing or on the side of the fuselage, that's what that is. I haven't noticed any on Shaheds, but maybe I have. But that's what's supposed to correct for that wind speed and wind direction thing. It's not 100%. A lot of times you need multiple of them to pick up because there's wind blowing from different directions and what have you. But that's what's used to correct for that.
Because I thought that pitot tube is used to measure the indicated airspeed of the aircraft.
Yeah. The indicated airspeed of the aircraft, but it's also relative to how do I say this? It's integrated into the calculation. That's what I mean. Because if you know the air, so your inertial navigation is not always accurate, because if the air is blowing from one direction, so the airspeed of the aircraft is used to calculate against that to compensate for the wind speed. That's the more complex way of saying it.
So I have a probably strange question, but
Mm,
again, yesterday tried to speculate about this. So Elon Musk, whose dad travels to and from Russia like he fucking lives there, I don't know, or works, um, and also reposts all sorts of bullshit about Ukraine. All of a sudden, Ukrainian Minister of Defense just, like calls him and goes, Elon, my dude, can you just turn it off? And Elon is like, easily anything for you. Do we have something on Elon Musk, or generally you think it's just to shift the focus from Epstein files?
well, I mean, they're all connected, aren't they? You know, I mean, it's so interesting how this Epstein files, Russia, Elon Musk, all these guys are all sort of connected in a big circle. And if you'll excuse my French, it's the fuck Ukraine circle. It seems like to me. And I would say that Russia's got to be putting some pressure, in some way, on Musk about this. They're clearly not happy. It's the this idea of political realism, right? Which is the idea that countries, corporations, people have no values, just interests. You know, that's going to kill us. That's literally going to kill us. It's going to kill our societies, and it's going to make our world and our lives uh, unlivable, and our world uninhabitable. Because we we don't live in a world anymore where we can pretend like we're in the 19th century, and we can't actually destroy ourselves at any moment. And the fact that there is nothing, no treaties, not even the flimsiest piece of paper holding back from a second nuclear arms race between the U.S. and Russia right now, should also be a huge wake up call for people. And I feel like a lot of the West is just asleep at the wheel for that. You know.
Yeah, I agree on
Um,
that. By the way, do you think that Russians can actually press pressure Elon Musk to actually either start helping them or maybe disrupt connection for Ukraine? Because that's basically the whole reason why
oh yeah,
we gathered today.
yeah, yeah. I mean, that's why I say it could easily flip back around, and the shoe could be on the other foot. You know, Musk could fall down a K hole, or the Orange Wonder could suddenly decide he wants to put some pressure on Ukraine again and say, "Oh, we're turning Russia back on, or we're going to turn Ukraine off." It's a big risk. It's a big strategic, tactical, any way you want to put it. And that's why I just emphasize, that to the Ukrainian command that that this Starlink is great, but it now you see where the risks lie, and we can't guarantee that um, it's always going to be on our side.
Yeah, I just noticed that we have the same blood type.
Oh, that's good news. I know where I know whose blood I can drink now. I guess
No,
when I
no,
become a vampire.
it's impossible because I had hepatitis when I was a tiny kid. The yellow one. How do
Oh,
you call it?
jaundice.
Yeah, probably.
Hmm. I don't know.
Like, and that is why you can save my life, but I cannot save yours.
Ah, nice, nice. That's convenient. I don't know if vampires get hepatitis or not, but
Uh, we
I'll
we
let you
can
know when
check.
I become one.
Okay, okay. Yeah, that's by the way, all the people who have this like perverted nostalgia after the Soviet Union, they say like we were never sick when we were kids in the Soviet Union. Everything was fine. They had those soda machines on the
Mm,
streets with like those
yeah,
glasses. They would like 1 million people would drink every day from the
I have
same
the same
glass,
ones.
and yeah, and they would never get sick. Soviet Union. I'm on a train with my parents. I'm like 4 years old. I We ordered tea on a train. I drank with from the glass, and like next day I'm in a hospital with that
Yeah,
shit.
yeah. There you go. Yeah, people have that nostalgia. You know, I mean, herd immunity is the phrase, but the problem with herd immunity is a lot of people die. It's the reason that the vaccines and things that vaccines and antibiotics that we have today in the 20th century that created our 8 billion people on the planet. Um, the reason that we have those 8 billion people and we didn't have them in the 19th century, for example, is because a lot of people, especially young children under the age of 5, just died. They just got sick and died. And then anybody who survived, yeah, okay, they didn't get sick. Great, good for them. You know,
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I don't know. I think the only reason people have this nostalgia, yeah, like
Thanks,
strange
Duncan.
coincidence. Yeah, what could it
Yeah,
mean? I think the only reason why people have this nostalgia after the Soviet Union is literally, first of all, because like they were more like healthier. They had, for example, good erection back in those days, and like that's basically the only reason. And we have saying that Soviet Union is like a big ugly ass. Like there's absolutely nothing beautiful about it, but perverts love it. Um,
wow, that is that really a saying?
yeah, that's I saw it somewhere in the Ukrainian segment of the internet. Um,
Hilarious.
Basically, yeah. So I wanted to ask you about. Wait a second. But Starsky didn't get the plastic boobs. Did Pamela Anderson get ones? Because I don't know.
Mm.
I thought that she's natural. I can be wrong though.
No,
Um,
no, I think Starsky did get plastic boobs. They're just flat. You know, just got they're just flat boobs. That's all. You can get plastic flat boobs,
yeah,
right?
yeah. I
Yeah,
got those. To make them smaller actually than they were.
yeah.
Um,
That's what I need. I need that.
so. Uh, d- Did Starsky just say? Right? We say all sorts of stuff on our channel
No,
because we have freedom of speech.
he said election. Election. He was talking about the election. You misheard.
So tell me this: what is the average range of the fiber optic drone nowadays?
Hmm. I mean, like I would say like 15 to 20 kilometers. But we're getting them in the 30-kilometer range, and I've heard as long as like 50 kilometers. Um, I've heard, I mean, these these are like think about like undersea fiber optic cables that go literally thousands of miles. I think that we can expect to start seeing 100-kilometer fiber optic drones pretty regularly, and a lot of these millennias, the Russians have that, and to a lesser extent, some of the like the fixed wing Ukrainian drones have that as well. I think we'll start to see that a lot more, and especially with the Russians losing Starlink, they're going to have to rely on that. That's the for for um, for drones. That's the only good alternative to Starlink for a lot of like the heavier kamikazes or bombers, basically. You know,
Do we use fixed wing UAVs with fiber optic cables?
absolutely. The Russians are using millennials, which if you're familiar, millennials it's just shit and sticks basically. But yeah, I've seen them with a 50-kilometer spool on the back between the two sticks that hold the tail, and that's where they'll mount the optical fiber. Yep.
Holy shit.
Yeah. Yeah, it's crazy sauce.
And it's basically it's more efficient than on a quadrocopter because
Yeah.
fixed
You
wing
only
you
got one
can,
motor, so
yeah.
it's cheaper. And you got wings, so it's more efficient. Beetle Bailey says he needs to get a hold of some of those Amazon delivery drones. Actually, no, Amazon needs to get a hold of Ukraine's delivery drones. In fact, it's the other way around. When this war is over, if not before, a lot of companies are coming after Ukraine to supply them with drones for all sorts of purposes, which is somewhat terrifying.
Do you think that at some point the fiber optic drones can replace the radio controlled ones?
Not entirely. No, I don't think they'll ever replace them 100%. I think that for many, there's a lot of places where the radio controlled drones are they're just better, easier to use, easier to fly. They much less hassle. The fiber can be cut. Fiber gets snagged on stuff. There's all sorts of problems. It comes with a whole plate full of problems. Actually, it's by no means a panacea. Okay, and there's always gonna it's just always gonna be a cat and mouse game, especially with the radio wave drones, because they just need to come up with a new antenna that works on different frequencies or hops between frequencies, all sorts of things like that. There's always going to be a place for that, for sure. I think there will always be like at least 50-50, really.
Is there any way to, okay, not like suppress fiber optic drones because it's impossible, basically? And again, like I keep receiving, emails. First of all, I keep receiving emails about you should. I know how you can win the war. You should destroy the Kerch Bridge. Like it's every day. And also, I keep receiving emails about like. I designed like death race. I can just kill people on distance, like 100
Yeah,
kilometers
with
away,
with mind bullets.
with mind bullets. Yeah. Um, so besides like death rays, electromagnetic weapons, and lasers and stuff like that, is
EMPs is
there?
the one that people like to talk about all the time.
Yes, yes, yes.
Yeah.
Is there some reliable way to detect those drones other than, for example, using the smaller radars like FARA, for example? like Russian FARA, we have analogs. Or, for example, acoustic detectors. Are there any other options?
Hmm. Um, yeah, interesting. You should mention the acoustic detectors. There are some other options that I've been actively investigating and doing research on. I can't tell you exactly what they are yet because little OPSEC here. Um, but we're not sure about their actual efficacy on the battlefield, so we're working on it. There are other types of detection. The thing is they all come with their own problems, right? So, like for example, acoustic detection, you're limited in your range, right? Um, so your acoustic detector might not detect something more than however many 100 meters or away, a kilometer away, maybe something like that in that range. Um, the radar, light travels in straight lines. So if there's anything blocking, if you're a smart drone pilot, you might fly through valleys or in areas that are somehow um, in the shadow of something that blocks electromagnetic radiation, large buildings, trees even can block certain frequencies, you know, so you can use that terrain to your advantage. And in fact, jets and helicopters do very similar things against the larger uh, uh, radars and detectors, basically. So there's a counter to every potential. I mean, people are looking at phased array systems, highly sensitive phased array systems to pick up and detect incoming. FPVs are so small, it's not much bigger than a bird, and traveling very fast, and so um, that's it. Just presents a lot of challenges, and so there's no panacea. There's no um, magic pill. Interesting you mentioned about the Kerch Bridge, right? I've been thinking a lot about that. And Sun Tzu said, always give your enemy an escape route. Yeah. Always give them a way out. So, I think a lot of people have said, why don't you destroy the Kerch Bridge? Why you destroy Kerch Bridge? Well, because when we take Crimea, not if, but when, we want our enemy we don't want them to fight to the last man, right? We want them to go away. So destroying the Kerch Bridge would work against that. Limiting its usefulness is probably more important than destroying it outright. That's what I would say. It wasn't
Yeah,
me says, oh,
I guess so.
go ahead.
The only problem is that, when Russians retreat somewhere, they are usually like shot there where they retreat to, and that is why they like it's a death cult anyways. It's a death
Mm,
cult where
so
everybody
true.
should die. That's basically their ideology. I wanted to ask you another thing regarding drones. The scale, how can you compare, for example, uh, the Russian capacity in terms of FPV and our capacity?
Mm. Oh, capacity. I mean, I think that Ukraine has massively, drastically improved its capacity. I think that Russia, up until this whole business with Starlink is really going to hurt their, not capacity so much, but ability. Um, that's the big thing. Uh, but they have that command economy where they can just chunk out 1,000 shaheds a day. But it's centralized, so it provides bigger and better targets. Um, and Ukraine has thousands of tiny little hidden workshops under every other building, in every city and town and village, with 5 or 10 people in there just just cranking away like Santa's little elves making drones, and it's such a completely opposite uh, system of manufacturing that it has certainly disadvantages, but it's more distributed, so it's much more difficult to destroy. So it comes and goes. I think Russia's always going to have more than Ukraine does, always. So Ukraine and Ukrainians have to be smarter. And proof to the point, right? 85% of casualties on the battlefield now come from drones, right? What happened to the glorious, Soviet stockpiles of artillery that Russia had? What they did is they used them stupidly. Okay, like something like at one point in the war, it was like 60,000 a day that they were shooting off, and they were just, I mean, yeah, they killed a lot of people that way, but they were just wasting so many more, you know. Whereas Ukraine, even with artillery, and I'm not in an artillery unit, but I've certainly spoken with artillery crews and commanders, and they are much more careful with their resources, careful with their intelligence, and respond in a very pinpoint fashion. Like, oh, we're gonna wait until they shoot, and then we're gonna return fire exactly on their position. And that's the same thing that is developing and has been going on on the Ukrainian side with drones. In other words, the Russians come in and they find out where we are, usually reconnaissance, not reconnaissance by fire, but reconnaissance by us firing on them, or reconnaissance by death. So they look at where their own dead bodies are piling up, and they say, oh, there must be Ukrainians around there. And so then they just saturate that area first with FPVs, and then if that doesn't work, then they come in with cabs. And luckily our guys in many cases our blindages are good enough that unless it's an absolute direct strike with the biggest cab possible, we'll hold out there for a long time. So, yeah.
There's a question from Beetle Bailey. Why is super chats off? My friend, the super chats are off on this channel constantly, permanently, because literally because I consider super chats like cheating. You pay to make your chats appear more to the host. That is
Ah,
why I think it's kind of not like cheating, but on my channel we all have equal freedom of speech and equal rights. That's my stupid explanation. I'm sorry. I have a different question.
yeah.
I think I did. Yes. So recently we saw increased number of land-based platforms, unmanned platforms used on Ukrainian positions. There was this crazy case of like this robot armed with a heavy machine gun that repelled Russian attacks for 1.5 months, and it's
Yeah.
still there. The position is
Yeah.
still there. Will we see more of those
Oh,
used
yeah.
in the future?
2026, I predict, will be the year of the ground drone. 25 was the year of the fiber optic drone, I would argue. And 26 will be the year of the ground drone. And I think we're going to start seeing better integrated tactics, with like infantry. And there's been a lot of talk I've noticed about training like assault units, more and more assault units, which of course Azov is primarily, a assault or at least active defense unit. And I think that model is going to work for Ukraine to take back its territory, but it requires constant training and really good planning and really good intelligence all the way along the line, and it takes a while to develop that culture, to develop that level of command and control, um, to develop the skills of commanders. It requires soldiers who don't die in meat waves constantly, but live to fight and most importantly learn another day. Which is what Ukraine is doing actively and successfully. So I can tell you that I know units. I won't give away which ones, but that are very actively working on integrating ground drones into their. It's a combined arms warfare. Really, is what it is. Combined arms warfare. That's what they're going for. So, yeah, I definitely think that's going to be the thing for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. For example, what we know from the open sources, because Hartia was like on all the channels everywhere around, they already conducted several successful land operations using land drones only.
Yep.
So they didn't
And
use,
third assault,
yeah,
Third Army Corps. Yeah.
yeah. So basically, they didn't use infantry at all. Infantry was literally sitting there controlling the robots, and they were literally eliminating Russians. And there's also a video that was published just recently showing Ukrainian land drone taking like three or more Russian prisoners right there.
Yep. Yep. There will always be a role for infantry, and there will always be tasks that infantry has to do. You know, but just like you were saying, the infantry was controlling the ground drones. What's going to happen over time is drones are creeping into the infantry side of things, so that infantry guys more and more are going to start to become drone operators themselves, whether that's ground drones, flying drones, FPVs, ISR, everything. It's all sort of mixing up. Combined arms warfare, like I said, and
Yeah,
more
absolutely.
control. Individual units on the ground, when they have control, when the infantryman has control, you're going to see a more dynamic shift in warfare, I think.
Yeah. We have several questions. First question: how many engineers could be used to make mini wind turbines for the people?
Mini wind turbine. Solar is a big thing here in Ukraine, and Ukraine has a very strong and long historical engineering tradition. As you know, Starsky, a lot of the irony is, right. A lot of the missiles that are being used to attack Ukraine, a lot of the long range heavy bombers that are being used to attack Ukraine were actually designed and sometimes built in Ukraine. Some of them even belonged to Ukraine before 1995. Um, so, yeah, I would say that mini wind turbines. I've investigated that myself for my own home in Ukraine. I ultimately decided I think we're going to go with solar. Um, Ukraine doesn't have. I come from a part of America that has a lot of freaking wind all the time. New Mexico, it's freaking windy as hell there all the time, and Ukraine doesn't have that sort of really strong. Not most of the time. It's pretty mild, the wind here, unless you're in some maybe mountain valleys or something, or maybe in the far east or south along the ocean. So it's not as big. It's not as popular here. But solar is very popular and becoming more so. There's large solar installations all over the country, and people are, of course, with all the power outages and power problems, a lot of people, especially in rural areas, are really starting to do solar because the prices have come down so much.
I know where is the windiest place in Ukraine. It's freaking Darnitsa in Kiev. Seriously, I lived there, and there's a place like two houses
Yeah,
and a store. And when you walk like between those two houses, you're just flying, because the wind is
seriously,
so.
it's called the Venturi effect, and this is why one reason why like Chicago is notorious for being the windy city, because partly because the way the buildings are built and the sharp angles and straight lines, and also the direction of the roads in the cities can increase that effect. And yeah, it's pretty. There are some streets in Kiev that are like that for sure. It's kind of miserable. This is true. This is true. Yes.
I
It's
don't know.
yeah. Can confirm.
Okay, I'm
Thank you,
not
Cheryl.
local. I'm not local, so I have no idea. So Catalin, sorry, couldn't meet you, but tomorrow I'll
Hmm.
be sleeping like crazy. Question for James: is there anything related to software development slash engineering that you'd like to outsource, if possible? If possible, of course.
Yeah, it's pretty interesting. So I have a team of we're a team of 9 international um engineers in my laboratory. Uh and it's a pretty broad set of skills. Uh I will say that Ukraine for a long time before the war had a very strong, especially software development outsourcing tradition. In other words, Ukraine is where a lot of companies, including my own company, 2 of my own companies that I worked for, outsourced to. So that's part of the reason why I moved to Ukraine in the first place. Is back in 2013, 2014, when Maidan was happening, we had Ukrainian software developers and network engineers working for us, and they were at Maidan Nezhelezhnosti. They were at the protests, and we were very impressed by this. And I decided at that time that's when I decided I wanted to come to Ukraine and check it out here. Um, so I can also tell you that I work with a couple of organizations. One that's called Technology United for Ukraine. That's kind of an association of engineers and scientists from Western countries that provides technical support to for R&D, um, and they are really starting to do a lot of good work with actually with certain ministries and 3-letter organizations within Ukraine that I can't mention for development. So that is happening. And yes, as far as my laboratory, I will utilize, like for example, their services, and right now I'm really focused on fiber optic production and getting these fiber optic drones out the door. But when we kind of have our manufacturing, uh, when we have our assembly line set up and ready to go, then we will start sort of focusing on some of our R&D side projects and development. So, but it's not our primary purpose right now.
Speaking of Ukrainian outsourcers and Ukrainian software engineers, big hello to you, James, from my brother Roman from Australia. You know each other. And also, big hello from my brother to all the family there in the chat as well. He's had like a small surgery, but he's feeling better now, which makes me absolutely happy. We have some more questions. Even better question: is there anything we should open source that or outsource that would help Ukraine more than Russia?
Um, I mean, optical fiber, honestly, and all these components that are coming from China. Um, we need to start developing manufacturing in Western countries. Honestly, that's the biggest thing. Uh, the different chips, electric motors, media converters, VTX, freaking goggles, like DJI, right? I mean, nobody can replace DJI on the battlefield right now, and that is ridiculous. That is ridiculous. Are you telling me, like, we Western countries we can't do that? You know, um, so like that's the biggest thing. It's interesting. Mitch says counterintuitive, but lots of ways to die, but gun in a war. Well, look, that's a very modern perspective. I mean, there was a time when swords or spears were the big thing, and guns were, like, oh, what's this fancy or this peasant crap? We hate that. So it's the transition now is moving from guns to drones, honestly. Um, but yeah, so as far as outsourcing, we need to outsource that manufacturing to Western countries, not to China. That's really the biggest thing, and there's no reason we shouldn't.
That's something absolutely surprising because, like, motors, do we still buy motors in China?
90%. Yeah. Yeah. And it's because of the winding. So China China, the government invested a lot through various incentives, taxes, and all sorts of, and just direct investment into these different like electric car companies, for example. And so all these little parts suppliers sprung up for winding electric motors. It's a relatively time consuming thing to do, often actually done by hand, because it's very complex movements have to be done with these wires wrapping around. Now there are starting to be some alternatives. They're just coming out, hitting the market. There's actually um, some circuit board based motors that are coming out that are very interesting, but I don't think they're quite ready for prime time at the scale of a drone motor, for instance. So yeah, and there are motors that are starting to be. I saw some today. Actually, we have some in our lab that are made in Ukraine, but very often they're not really entirely made in Ukraine. The different components are ordered from China and then they're assembled in Ukraine. So even that is, um, mostly from China. And this is something the West just needs to get back in one way or another.
That's crazy.
Mm-hmm.
Knowing how exactly the thing is wired, all right?
Mm-hmm.
Theoretically, can you print it?
What do you mean? Like 3D print it?
Yeah, 3D print the wiring itself.
No, because it's mixed. It's mixed materials. So we really don't have the technology to do to 3D print mixed materials. But like I said, there are now, you can print a circuit board, right? And so there are now circuit board based electric motors, but they're literally just hitting the market, brand freaking new, and they're not miniaturized yet, as far as I have seen. Their efficiency is supposed to be very high, and I think that's automation is the way that Western countries are going to go to boost their productivity, because the cost of labor is just higher in Western countries than in China historically, and so yeah, because you've got copper wiring, and then you've got other types of metal, then you've got like these magnets, niobium magnets or whatever, and so there's no way to 3D print them, unfortunately.
But generally, can you 3D print the copper wiring? Or it's impossible? Like knowing how exactly it's, you know.
So the how do I say this? I Now we're edging on we're edging towards the borders of my expertise, right? So the armature, let's say, that the copper wiring is wrapped around, okay? That can be not 3D printed, okay, but like a CNC machine, like a 3D CNC machine that cuts away all of the unnecessary material, okay? Let's call that a metal 3D printer, okay? Not depositional, but um, that can be done. But then a machine then can take the copper wire and go around and do the wrapping. But it's very complex to program that machine that does that wire wrapping,
Mm.
basically.
Just a
So
question, because I'm curious.
mhm.
Vlad says Ukraine is safer than the US at the moment. I wouldn't say that Ukraine is safer, but at least you're not attacked because you're not white.
I will tell you that outside of like the immediate war zone in Ukraine, I have never felt as unsafe in Ukraine as I would just on a normal Tuesday in America. And that's pre-Trump, actually. I don't think Ukrainians understand just how violent the U.S. is. I mean, granted, I was living in Albuquerque, New Mexico, so maybe that has something to do with it. But just walking down the streets of, I don't know, Sacramento or something, you got to have your guard up. You got to be like getting ready to kick somebody's ass at any moment because it might happen. You might have to, you know. And this is why, by the way, that's why Americans smile all the time, Starsky, because we're trying to signal to each other, I'm not going to kill you. That's and I know you're not going to kill me. I'm not afraid of you because I have a gun. That's what the smiling is all about. That's really what we're doing, honestly.
That's something I learned when I was in the United States in 2008. They basically
Mm.
said we smile all the time because the other dude might have a gun.
Exactly. That's exactly right. Yeah, and here in Ukraine, it's pretty rare. It's extremely rare. Even with the war, even soldiers don't usually have their guns on them unless they're an officer. And so it's funny when I first moved here before the full scale invasion. But a lot of people walk down the street, especially in wintertime, and they all look like this. They're really unhappy. I just thought everybody wanted to kill me, even every babushka who walked past me. I was like terrified. It took me a few years to get over that.
Yeah, babusa actually.
Babusia, correct.
Babusa in Ukraine doesn't kill. She might torture you until you
Yeah,
die, but only with stuffing you with like porridge, with
right.
homemade jam, with
I've
like
learned that now. I've learned that now.
yeah. So, question: is your production impacted by the power outages?
Absolutely, it's a huge problem. A huge problem. Now, the closer you get to the zero line, ironically, the better the power situation is. So yeah, if you're in Kiev, you might be freezing your balls off and have no power and sitting in a dark room and no heat. And I'm out here in the Donbass, and I'm actually I need to take this off because I'm actually too warm. In fact, um, uh, and the reason for that, I think, is Ukraine necessarily needs to put more of its power resources in the areas where the military is, because they want to avoid those disruptions, because they know how important the drone labs, the command posts, command and control, all of those things. So just for an example, in my laboratory, like I think last week, uh we had some power glitches and whatnot. Like, I mean, we have them every day, just to some degree or another. But if it switches off and we don't have a battery backup when we're doing our 3D printing or our fiber optic spooling, then that whole batch of we have like 15 3D printers now, and imagine 15 fiber optic spools being completely ruined because they switched off for like 30 seconds, and that was enough to make one layer in the print that is just basically worthless. And so the whole thing's worthless at that point because it just falls apart, splits in half. And with the fiber optic spools, you can have the fiber just gets all tangled. It's, yeah, and you've just wasted however many kilometers of fiber. So I just with money donated by people who've gone. By the way, this is a good opportunity to go to mention my fundraising website. It's yukraine.com. The letter Y, the word Ukraine, all one word all together, .com. And if you go there, you'll see we have links to things that we need for our laboratory. If you want to support the Azov International Battalion that I'm a part of, you can do it directly there. That's the first link on the page, big thing there, and that's really helps us for big purchases, and then for smaller things, tools and fiber things that we need. There's some links below that. One thing that I've just set up today, and I don't know how it's going to work. It's a test, okay? But I've been working on this. I've been planning this for so long, and it's send a message to Putin. on a drone. So there's a link there you can go to on the whyukraine.com site, and if you look a little bit, you'll see a picture of one of my engineers holding a drone, and it says "Your message here," and you can go in there and type whatever message you want. Fuck Putin, Slava Ukraine, Happy Birthday Bob, and send that to the Russians, and it might have a little. I appreciate anyone's feedback. If any of your viewers go and try and do that now while we're on the stream and report back to me if it worked for them or not, I'd really appreciate that. It would really help because I literally set it up right before we started this stream. So yeah, we'll see how it goes.
Several notes, all right. First of all, it was reported yesterday by Madhyar that in January this year, we eliminated or improved more Russians than were recruited. So, according to our intelligence, approximately 22 Russian terrorists were recruited during the month, and approximately 30,000 Russian terrorists were turned into a perfect fertilizer for Ukrainian cucumbers and tomatoes, which is something absolutely amazing. And also, I'm not sure how actually to show you this video. I think I can. Let's just see this
Yeah,
one.
share your screen. Oh, there you go. Yeah.
So on your screen, you can see actually a Russian fuck who decided to give up, and he's going to the Ukrainian position. And
Wow.
behind him, another Russian person who decided to give up. So basically, they decided to save their lives and walk to the Ukrainian positions, where, of course, they would receive medical treatment, trip to McDonald's, and stuff like that. So you can see Ukrainian drone basically observing those two Russian people, and right there, I will even probably zoom in just a bit. Right there, you can see Russian drone hitting the other guy.
Their own guys.
Yeah. What do you think about this one?
Classic orcs. You know, it just shows you, like, it, like you said, a death cult. You know, no one gets out alive. That's what
Yeah.
they're trying to say, and that's the point. That's the point they're trying to send to their own people, and that's also why they lie to their own people and say, "Oh, if you surrender, Azov is going to torture you," and all this other nonsense. None of that is true. Actually, I mean, I just want the Russian people to open their minds, and unfortunately, sometimes opening Russian minds requires kinetic sanctions. you know, but it would be a lot easier if they would just, like, some Ukrainians have said to me that we will win this war when the Russian refrigerator defeats the Russian television. You
Oh,
know,
yeah. Oh, yeah. That's for sure.
I'm glad that you understand that phrase, Starsky, because I say it sometimes to, like, Americans, and they just like, what? I don't understand, but yeah.
Yeah, we say that often actually.
Yeah.
We have another very, very good news as of today because this
Yep.
dude, Russian Lieutenant General Alexeyev, who is first deputy chief of GRU, the Russian military intelligence, known maniacs and terrorists and assassins. He became better. So earlier today, he was blessed twice in in the back from something probably like a handgun, and later today it was reported that he became a better person, a better Russian. All right. He
Mhm.
will not be committing war crimes anymore. I will also check this one because this is like uh, messages coming from not to me personally, but messages coming from the relatives of the general Alexeyev. But they are saying that he's kaput,
Hmm.
which is good, which is great.
Um, Now, is he one of the generals that was speaking out against the war in some degree? Because there's been a few of them that have started to kind of peep up and say, maybe this war is not so great. Maybe we're not winning. You know, I know that the mill bloggers have been saying that, but
Yeah, those are bloggers. So while chief of GRU currently
Mhm,
is participating in the so-called negotiations
mhm,
between Russia and Ukraine, because there is chief of Ukrainian GUR and chief of Russian GRU. So that deputy was basically managing and commanding GRU while his boss was out of the country.
mm, mhm, mm. It's just interesting to me that so these Russian generals and things, they're under threat from like Ukrainian assassins, rightly so, and our own Gur, you know, but they're also equally under threat from their own institutions. If they make the wrong step and either if they're too good and they therefore become a threat to Putin, or if they decide for some reason to let the truth slip out, um, then they're equally it's such a tightrope for them to walk. I don't feel sorry for them though.
Absolutely. As a famous Russian anonymous once said, Russia is a chaos of shit and death. And it's like the best description ever given to this horrible, horrible place.
Oh yeah,
Um,
someone else also said that he was involved in the Novichok poisonings, which yeah, I did read that. I want to tell you guys something. Like Novichok and other chemical agents are getting used out on the battlefield by the Russians all the time, very commonly. It's already chemical warfare that they're doing on us.
can you talk more about that? Do you know cases of chemicals used against your guys, for example? Because my guys, for example, were saying that the orcs were using all the time some sort of like tear gas.
No, not
That
oh, that's one thing. Yeah, sure. I'm talking about Novichok, Kumarin, which is another extremely poisonous. Yeah, these things are getting used out there, and I mean, I can't go into detail, but I do have details, and it's um, I mean, I know that the Russians have already committed every possible war crime, beheadings and grape and everything else, but it's just like, when is the world gonna wake up? And I think the only reason that it needs to get reported a lot more, it's just, man, when I go on to, like, I don't know, for example, Google News or whatever, just to see, like, without all my previous preferences. So, in uh like on another account or something like that, and I see that, like, there's nothing about Ukraine in the news in America. I mean, there might be some mention about Russia for some reason or another, but the word Ukraine is like not mentioned anywhere, at least in any headlines that you can see. You got to go on to like page 10, you know, to find anything about Ukraine now. And I think in some ways, this whole Epstein and just the chaos that has been stirred up in America is in many ways part of the Russian psyop. They've got to be just you know uh Mr. Burns style, twiddling their fingers, saying, "Our plan is working. They're not helping Ukraine anymore." And that's why, Starsky, I want to say that the work that you are doing, and all of your viewers here that are watching this and promoting this, sharing, liking, subscribing, is so incredibly important, because it is all connected. We were talking earlier about the Epstein connection to Russia and all of that. It's all coming from a certain source, and I don't think we need to be a crazy conspiracy theorist to see where it's coming from. And it is that information hybrid warfare, and we have to do everything we can to fight it. And so I appreciate you doing what you do when I'm you know down in the laboratory, because I can't I can't I can only juggle so many things, so it's good to know that somebody's out there fighting that side of the fight.
Well, my friend, I'm happy that at least enjoy inventing and doing all sorts of software-related engineering, stuff, because I have to literally read Russian news every single fucking day. I just, in the end of the day, I just go to my car, I sit in the back seat, and I curl up and cry while no one is watching. But just for your information, my dear friends, here we have a message from the insider. I will translate this one for you, or can I use like translation here? No, I don't think so. Basically, they say that approximately one half of all the socio-political content in the German segment of Telegram is controlled by the RT network. RT is Russia Today,
There
and
you go.
continues to actively spread pro-Kremlin disinformation, according to the new newspaper Europe and the Insider, according to their investigation. These two media are legit. So those channels started being pumped up with the audience immediately after the full-scale invasion, and despite the European sanctions, they continue to actively promote Russian fakes. Some of their administrators, some of the owners of those publics, are related to Russian GRU, that is conducting disinformation operations. And GRU, by the way, is one of those organizations in Russia that are directly tasked with spreading disinformation on the
Right.
internet, bot farms, and yada yada. That's besides Russia Today, besides Sputnik, like their whole infrastructure, besides Россотрудничество and their informational network, and besides all sorts of Russia government-controlled communication agencies, professional dudes, like, for example, those dudes who create different cringy memes and send them straight to Elon Musk, who later reposts shit that was created by some Russian editors sitting in the Moscow office. That is completely insane. How do guys in your unit react to, let's say, how do they keep their morale high, considering
Mm,
the huge amount of disinformation? And we know that this is Ukraine.
sure.
There's a lot of zrada, as always,
Tak.
in our society. Bez
Yeah.
zrady, I don't know, you cannot do
Zradniki.
anything.
Tak.
Yeah, yeah. So how do guys keep the high morale?
I mean, look, we see the results on the battlefield. You know what I mean? And when we see the progress that we're making, and my engineers see what we're doing, and we don't need to, we're in it. We don't need to look at the news to know what's going on the ground, because we are on the ground. You know what hurts our morale, like for my pilots and things in the unit, is like when you're out on the position and you run out of MREs, and you're down to like the last canned fish. That's that's what hurts our morale. Um, you know, the all of that information warfare kind of just goes over our heads, because we can see right through all of that BS, basically. um and we're very dedicated. I mean, that's Azov, especially. Azov is not we're not Mobics. We're not guys who came here, from around the world, because we didn't believe in Ukraine and in the cause of freedom and democracy. You know, um, and so that's and Azov chooses people. I very carefully uh, chose my engineers and our pilots are they're not just people who are showing up with nothing else to do with their lives. So we've already got our minds set and our head in the game, and we're not listening to any of those sources. I will say that it depends on the sources that you choose, and it's pretty rare that I meet a pro Ukraine supporter, for example, who watches a lot of Fox News, right? And by the same token, um, uh, I'm not saying that everyone here in Ukraine who speaks Russian is, somehow a supporter of Russia. That's not the case at all. But every time on the, very small percentage, smaller and smaller every day. But when I do come across um, a Ukrainian who still supports Russia somehow in this war, or is kind of on the fence somehow, they're always strictly a Russian speaker, and all of the media that they consume is coming from Russia. And so that leans into what you were talking about, Telegram, right? Telegram controlled by Russia, and so ultimately, um, that explains perfectly why. Switch them off, turn it off. That's the only thing. That's what Germany needs to do. Just turn it off.
I agree on that. One thing I can confirm is that when you are in the area of operations, when you are
Yeah.
on the front line, generally, you don't even think about disinformation and stuff like that because you're busy with your stuff. You don't often read news even. You're busy with what is going on in your unit.
Yeah.
Besides that, again, what I can confirm because we worked with Azov, Azov are some of the most motivated guys, if not the most motivated guys in the National Guard of Ukraine. 100%. What can you tell about the people you're directly working with in your unit?
I mean, they're amazing. I'm having such a great time. It's crazy to say, that I'm having a great. I mean, yes, it's frustrating every day. There's hard work, you know. But like I had a meeting with my company commander um a couple of weeks ago, and I came in, and I was so busy. I hadn't showered in 3 days, and I was unshaven, and and he said, you look tired, but you're having fun. That said, yeah, that's exactly right. Working my ass off, but having a great time doing it, because we're doing it for a purpose, you know and everybody is working towards the same thing, you know and it's really fantastic um to see. And I mean, yeah, sometimes we have little minor kerfuffles and conflicts and things and egos and stuff like that, but eventually that works itself out because we all know which side we're on ultimately. And it's about deeds, not words. That's a real thing. You can talk all day, but are you gonna put in the Jill case? Oh, yeah, I remembered. Yeah, James is now a scary Azov soldier. But yeah, we keep it fun. We have a good time, and we have a good attitude. It's hard work, but even the guys, my infantry guys and things, attitude is everything, and going into things with joy in many ways. Yeah, we're doing hard work, terrible work sometimes, but stuff that needs to be done, and it's for a good purpose, and so that motivates everybody, and everybody has that understanding.
Yeah. Some of the craziest songs I ever heard were shared with me by Azov guys, like back in 2000, oh my God, 2015 probably.
Mm.
Like Pivnik
And I
Petya,
know some of those guys too, I'm happy to say.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Pivnik Petya destroyed my brain completely because I was like listening it and the people were like, turn this shit off, please. I'm like, I cannot, I'm addicted. So, do we have some more questions there? Let me see. No, but we have some commentaries. You're a good man, James. The world needs more men like you. I confirm this one,
Thanks.
100%. And doing, wait a second. Yeah, people, by the way, expressing love to your unit.
No, thanks.
Rick the Ukrainian used to speak Russian. Yeah, like guys, so many people used to speak Russian, and like it doesn't mean anything. When you go to Ireland, all right, you won't meet many people speaking like Gaelic.
Irish. Yeah.
Yeah, but at the same time, not a lot of British, like English members of parliament would go into the same bathroom with Irish guys because they can lose some teeth there, and like it's a fact. So it doesn't mean anything because you remember, like Douglas McGregor once said, I believe it was him who said, like Russia is protecting like Russian-speaking population. Does it fucking make
No,
him a
they're
British
not.
colonel?
Yeah. The opposite is true, actually, because, yeah, all those Russian speakers in the occupied territories, they've all I mean, they're in terrible conditions if they haven't been sent to the zero line, or deported from their own country, and they're all Russian speakers. So what's going on there? Yeah, didn't Zelensky originally speak Russian? Yeah. No, look, every Ukrainian, like almost every Ukrainian that I've served with, even the ones who say they only speak Ukrainian, okay, I know that they're not, because my Ukrainian is very limited, but I learned Surgic to begin with. Um which Surgic is like the mix, right? The mix up. So, I'm using Google Translate a lot of times when I'm in meetings and things, and I'm looking and I'm seeing Google Translate's going like, I put it to Ukrainian, right, and it's like, what the hell are they saying? And it's so you guys start off speaking Ukrainian, and then like you get into what you're saying, and you get a little more emotional, and the Russian words start coming in, and you start using it's Ukrainian grammar but Russian words, and then you flip back around and you start speaking Ukrainian words but with Russian syntax, and then it flips back and forth, and I have to constantly on my Google Translate be flipping back and forth between Ukrainian and Russian, and the words don't translate exactly, so the words might be the same, okay, or the pronunciation is close enough for Google to think they're the same words, but they have completely different meanings. And so it'll be like, yeah, the bird flies west into the nest of the hortensia. And then I translated, I put it over to Ukrainian, and it's like, this drone is flying in a southerly direction for, something like that. It's like, it's really frustrating. It makes me want to learn Ukrainian better.
Yeah, it's like saying, "Are you Mexican or Tex Mexican?"
Yeah, like in New Mexico where everybody speaks some level of Spanglish.
Yeah, yeah. So inevitably, we are approaching the segment of my stream dedicated to something that everybody enjoys. We need to know what James's favorite Ukrainian food is, and William says, "I bet he likes Kiev cake." Tell me this: did you have opportunity to try legendary Ukrainian cake?
Wait, which one are we talking about? The layered cake, or the one that's like this? I don't know. Okay, so there's the Napoleon cake, right? There's that one, which is like a bunch of pancakes with like cream beside them, and then there's this other, the Kiev cake. I don't know how to describe it, but it's got something. Yes, I have that. That is awesome. I've had the chocolate version of that, and that is the most amazing cake, actually. Um, my okay, I will tell you what my favorite Ukrainian food is, and that is the chili peppers, the chili peppers that I grow on my own farm in Ukraine. So my family, for me specifically, because remember I lived in New Mexico for 15 years. So my family grows 50 chili pepper plants for me every year, and I have this harvest of in the kitchen in there. I have all these dried habaneros, jalapenos, um, um, Thai pepper, and then the kind of Ukrainian poblano pepper, which is not too spicy. But and so I just that goes on everything basically. But so my my favorite specifically Ukrainian food is golupsi. I think it's
Mm,
probably my favorite. That's
mm.
I mean borscht is good, of course. My wife makes a good borscht. Her mother makes a good borscht. But yeah, when I go home for the holidays, or if I get a little weekend or something, yeah, it's the uh my mother-in-law knows have the galupsi ready.
Yeah.
Yeah. Now Ukrainian hot dogs, Joki says, when you're on a long ass trip, to Kyiv or whatever across the freaking country, yeah, yeah, one of those Oko hot dogs are like killer. Actually, I wouldn't normally. It's not my normal thing, but when you're like starving because you're driving across the country, yeah, for sure.
In Ukraine, everybody, like if you're driving, everybody stops at Oko
Yep.
or Vog.
Wog.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And the hot dogs there, like everybody's buying them. I remember one time
Yeah.
we were with my commander and his driver. We stopped at the gas station. Mirko, hello, hello there in the chat. We stopped at the gas station. We ordered hot dogs like we always do because we were going like back and forth between Kiev, between our base and the training ground. And we ordered hot dogs. And then after a while, I go to the cashier and I'm like, "So where's our hot dogs?" She's like, "Oh, well, some man took them." And there were like taxi drivers, like the
Yeah.
cab drivers who fucking snatched our hot dogs.
Dude, you got to get up there. You got to get up to the counter. You got to get on it. You can't play around.
Yeah,
It's serious
that
business.
that was crazy. It's not because of such a huge level of crime. It's literally because they're so good. I gotta tell you this. Do you know that we have stuff that is like holubtsi, but instead of cabbage, we used stuffed peppers.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Usually when my mother-in-law makes it, it's 50-50 of the cabbage versus the green peppers. Yeah.
Yeah.
I like both. I usually eat 4 and I have 2 of each, and then I put one of my own chili peppers on each one.
Oh my God, that's so nice. So I will show you what I had just like 1 hour ago, 1.5 actually, and to our beautiful family. So I
Oh,
had typical. I would not call it specifically Ukrainian cuisine.
yeah, yeah.
I would actually call it Polish because that is
Uh-huh.
Polish pierogi, polskie
Yeah.
ogórki, and śmietana.
Mhm.
That is literally like proper Polish dinner. All right,
It's similar
and
though.
yeah, it's very similar. Like basically, it's the same. In
Mm.
Ukraine, we have like fried onions there, and those are pierogi ruski. Which, by the way, I asked our Polish friends, like, why the hell do you hate those pierogi so much? So you call them ruski? And it's not because they're Russian, it's because Rusины, you know?
Oh, really? Oh, okay, that makes sense. So from the
Ye-
western part of Ukraine.
yeah, yeah.
Mhm,
That's basically who Hutsuls told me. So
mhm.
that is what they call it. And those pierogi are full of potato and cheese and onion, and actually they taste really, really nice. Wait, can you buy that at the store, or do you have to make it? You can actually buy it.
Mm.
Uh,
Yeah, if you go to I mean, the closest thing if you're in America, actually in the Chinese food section, we sell a thing that we call pot stickers that are very similar. They can have either pork or vegetables, usually cabbage in them. It's similar to that. But usually those would fry in a pan or a wok, and these are like just boiled basically.
Yeah, yeah. So one secret, all right, because yesterday I showed our dear family a different picture. Do I have it here actually? Ah, yeah, I do. I have pictures from
Oh,
my every dinner. Yeah, that's
that's your
buckwheat.
buckwheat. Yeah,
Yeah, yeah.
yeah. I'm sorry, I'm forgetting the Ukrainian name.
Гречка, гречка.
Grechka. Yeah, yep.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So there's a secret recipe, all right, from my mom. So she used to make holubtsi, but instead of like 90% of rice, she
Mm-hmm.
would put something like 70 or 80% of buckwheat
Oh, yeah, Grechka. Yeah,
instead
yeah,
of
yeah.
rice. And this stuff to like mixed with meat.
Mm-hmm.
Oh my God, it's heavenly. You take the tomato sauce, like the usual sauce.
Yeah,
You
yeah.
take like the big piece of black bread and just oh my God. Oh, I don't know.
I can tell you're missing that.
Big time, big time.
Yeah.
Nobody actually cooks holubtsi like my mom, unfortunately. I should try at some point. What is your favorite beverage in Ukraine, by the way? And if you can compare, do you actually drink something like beer?
Yeah,
Or
yeah, I mean, not while I'm in service, of course. In fact, actually, here in the Donbass, you can't buy beer legally. I've actually acquired a taste for fake beer, non-alcoholic beer. Um, yeah, and they actually have some beer that is it tastes like Guinness, basically, but they actually use non-alcoholic Guinness, in fact, and I've actually started to like that more than real beer most of the time. That's pretty hilarious. I my favorite non-alcoholic Ukrainian beverage is uzvar.
mm,
Yeah, by far. Uzvar is awesome. I like compote too. I like a good compote, but uzvar has that little bit of smokiness to it that I just chef's kiss. And if you don't know what uzvar is, it's basically usually dried fruit. So it's a way of preserving, like fruit in the wintertime. So you dry fruit and then you put the dry fruit in a pot and boil it and drink it. You can drink it in the summer too, but often in the winter. And it's my favorite because it's fruit flavor, but not too sweet and a little bit smoky. And then I'll tell you something, Starsky, that I like to do, okay, is with the fruit left over from my usvar, is I like to make fruit pies.
oh,
So before the war, at home I did a lot of the cooking actually, and I would take the usvar fruit, and it still had a little bit of sweetness in it, but not too much. So I'd add a little bit of sugar to the pie, and it was just exactly perfect, just amazing.
yeah, yeah, you can do that because basically you have that stuff. I remember first time I tried to make not uzvar but compote
Hmm.
was I took the dried fruits, all right, like apples, uh, apricots, things like that. So I took all that, I threw it in the pot, I added water, I started boiling it, and after a while, after it boiled, I took the pot, I spilled the water, and I'm like standing there thinking, all right, what the fuck did I just do and why? You know, yeah, because it's sometimes it's confusing. So what about kvass?
Oh yeah, no. So kvass, I love kvass. Usually I prefer the dark kvass, but some kvass is too sweet for me. So I have to be like I like kvass that's not too sweet. If you guys don't know what kvass is, I would say it's similar conceptually and in maybe in quality to real American root beer, like root beer that's actually made from the freaking roots. Okay, except like sarsaparilla or whatever. But kvass is made from like barley or bread or something, right? So it there's light colored kvass and yeah, bread that was fermented. There's light colored kvass and dark colored kvass. I generally prefer the dark one, but only if it's not too sweet. I don't like the really sweet kvass. So I would say Kvass was my favorite, and it kind of used to be, but I got so many sweet ones. I was like, I got tired of it. So,
Yeah, yeah. So the closest thing to kvass is actually, you know what? I think kombucha.
yeah, yeah, I could see that. I I would like kombucha, except I know I've seen it made, and after you've seen kombucha made, it just I literally reminded me of this alien on Star Trek that like tried to take over people's brains and would flap around, and I just haven't been able to drink kombucha ever since.
Yeah. I remember I've been drinking it since I was a small kid because we have like two versions of kvass. First kvass is like bread kvass made of like
Yeah.
barley and stuff, and it tastes and smells like liquid bread. Basically,
Hmm.
it's like you're
Hmm.
drinking cold and refreshing
Yeah.
liquid bread. Second is mushroom kvass, which is basically kombucha.
Oh,
So it's like you
never
have
had.
like this big 3 liter jar in the
Yeah.
fridge. Yeah, and there is this creature floating on top of it.
Yes, it's terrifying. It's something from my nightmares. I know
Uh,
that people love to drink it, but it's it's like a
yeah,
weird jellyfish brain bug.
yeah, something like that. Like generally, it's fine, unless it becomes too big and it crawls out of the jar. And when it's strong enough to open the fridge, then there is a risk that it might actually, hunt you down
This
and
is what I'm
like
talking about.
yeah, crawl into your bed and say like, "Dude, I'm cold. Why did you keep me in the fridge all this time?"
Yes, exactly.
Yeah, but
Exactly.
I remember my grandma had this like huge jar, and I was visiting her with my bro when I was like 5 years old, and she's like, uh, "Kids, do you want kvass?" We're like, "Yeah, sure." She opens the fridge and takes this like huge jar of kvass with this stuff in it. All right, like like it kind of looks odd, sketchy.
Yeah. See, it's better off. Sometimes it's like sausages. It's better off not knowing how they're made.
Yeah, yeah, but it tastes so good. It tastes
Yeah.
like perfectly.
Yeah.
Is oh my god, please remind me, is kombucha like alcohol beverage? Because
Yeah. Both kvass and kombucha can be like very mildly alcoholic, like 0.1% or something like that.
something like
Yeah.
that, yeah. But generally, kvass is like
Yeah.
kids drink it.
Can be normally, but like true, real brewed kvass, not like fake stuff with additives or whatever, can have a very small amount. Yeah, and kombucha as well. Kombucha can be actually explosive, in fact, because of the buildup of fumes. I guess is
Um,
this usvar?
yes. I'm trying
Yeah.
to search for the mushroom kvass. All right. Yeah, there it is. I found it.
Yes. Yeah. Literally.
Well,
Exactly.
now as you mentioned it, now it looks yucky actually. But
Yeah.
back
Scary.
in yeah, back in my days, I I don't know. I would just drink it easily because it's just
I know it's very healthy. I know it's very good for you. Very healthy. And nothing like some good head cheese, somebody says. Yeah, pretty much, man. Pretty much. It's hilarious.
oh my
Yeah,
god.
but no, I mean it is very healthy, and but that's I think it's true for most foods. If you really knew how they were made, you probably wouldn't want to eat them. Ah, my apologies. I tweaked my back lifting 3D printers yesterday, and it's the one thing I think almost every soldier ends up getting is a screwed up back. You know.
Oh my god. Don't say, bro.
That's it. Yeah, I haven't been doing my physical therapy exercises this week, so yeah, paying the
It's
price.
it's like every single time I wear boots, and I bend, to tie my shoelaces. Ah, fuck. Ah.
Yeah, normalna.
Yeah,
as we
kind of
say.
sucks.
Yeah.
Um, do you okay? Do you think people can eat that mushroom in the glass jar?
What? The what? Good God, man! I would not. I mean, I understand. No. It's probably made of perfectly safe things. I mean, I guess you could take it out and eat it like a Napoleon cake. Just a really disgusting Napoleon cake, like all slimy. I mean, do people do that? Tell me people don't do that.
I don't know. I'm just asking, but I gotta think I should. I gotta ask my mom actually. She might
I
know.
Yeah, I mean, maybe. I think that even if I were in the blendage a month, you know, with nothing but those goddamn MRE crackers, I don't think I would eat the fucking kombucha mushroom or whatever. I don't know. I want to see, is kombucha mushrooms poisonous? Are
Please
com
check. Yeah, because I'd really like to know. On the other hand, of course, you can befriend it because why kill
Yeah,
intelligent
that's
creature, right?
that's more likely. Yeah, exactly.
It's insane. The same way, one time I befriended like a tin can of Tushonka. You know, I opened it. It was 2017, and
Yeah.
we had some very very bad, bad. Oh my god! Like package of that Tushonka. And I opened it. I looked inside of the tin can. The creature inside the tin can looked back at me. I saw like
Like,
like
hello, Starsky. How are
yeah,
you
like
doing today?
the pork nipple speaking,
Uh
from the
huh.
tin can.
Uh huh.
Had more hair than me. It was nice. It was nice. Even our dog Tapik didn't want to eat it.
That's bad. That's a bad sign.
Yeah. So what does it say? Can we eat kombucha mushroom?
Apparently, they are not inherently poisonous, but if they develop the wrong kind of mold, so there are multiple layers of bacteria. It says if the SCOBY, okay, so it has a name. Kombucha mushrooms are called SCOBY, symbiotic culture of bacteria and yeast. They are not intrinsically poisonous, but they can become unsafe due to contamination or improper home brewing. So if it smells bad, then just, I mean, if anything smells bad, oh, I will not. Thank you. Okay. Oh, it says health professionals cite cases of toxicity and lead poisoning. Uh, but that apparently is because the kombucha, the mushroom will take out impurities and and concentrate them in the mushroom part, which, okay. Can you eat a kombucha mushroom? Yes, you can. People eat it for its fiber, probiotics, and novelty. Ugh, no, no, thank you.
People enjoy exotic shit. What more can I say? You can over-bacterialize if you use too much.
Oh,
Ah,
are we still talking about kombucha mushrooms, or just like in general?
I
You
guess.
know?
You know what I think? Like, what if um, you take Lenin, you take his body, all right,
Yeah,
from like mausoleum,
yeah, yeah.
you drop it in like
Kombucha.
bathtub, and you grow kombucha out of it, and basically this is how the Russian world
I
spreads. They
I
just
think
fucking
that's
drink it.
actually what's happened. I think that's actually it, and that goes into the water supply. And I think that explains a lot about the Russian people. You know?
Oh shit.
Yeah, yeah. Now we've discovered the real truth, haven't we?
Yeah, and whatever is left solid in the water, that's what they basically call shi.
Yeah, right,
Because
right, right. Yeah, she. I know about
like
this.
sane person would never call their dish, their national dish, shi.
Yeah,
Fuck is that? My God. Kefir. Kefir is easy to make. By the way, do you like kefir?
I do, and in fact, in America, there's like one kind of kefir. Okay, you just go to America, you get kefir. What, and also, by the way, what we in America call kefir or kefir, a lot of people call it kefir. I did. Um, Here they just call that yogurt. Okay, and like kefir is a whole other thing, and then there's like another thing called ayran, which I think comes from Iran, and then
No, no,
and
no,
then
no,
there's
no.
some.
Iran comes from Turkey. That is Turkish stuff.
Oh, that's ironic. Wait, no, I okay. I'm getting my puns mixed up. Okay, so Iran comes from Turkey, but Iran comes from Persia. Okay, got it. All right. So yeah, so there's that, and then there's like a couple of other things, and then there's like smetana or smetanka, as you call it, which we would call it sour cream, but your smetana is not actually really sour. It's more like a fluffy cream. I mean, there's like a whole, like, it's like a rainbow of milk flavors, is what I would say. That just don't exist. It's kind of like kielbasa. So we would call it summer sausage in America. So if you go into your average grocery store in America, you would be lucky to find one kind of kielbasa. Like kielbasa you can just eat, just cutting it without cooking it or something like that. And it's literally called summer sausage. I don't mean one kind, I mean one in the whole freaking store. And here in Ukraine, it's like they have entire stores just dedicated to that, and there's literally hundreds of kinds of different kielbasa, sausages, salamis. There's, they call it like babusia, kielbaska, and then I mean, there's whole chains of stores for this. It's a huge, huge thing, massive,
Yeah,
massive.
we. It's so funny, I always consider it funny because, for example, we have like babusia's ковбаса, like babusia's sausage. We have doctor's sausage. We have children's sausage,
Yeah,
and we also have pork
sounds ominous.
sausage.
Yeah,
We have like pork sausage, beef sausage. Basically, it's so fun when you read like, okay, beef sausage, pork sausage, children's sausage. They're like, just take kids, just throw them in the grinder. Probably
yeah.
that's what I always thought. Turns out I was wrong. But by the way,
God,
the very recipe, you will be impressed. The very recipe of the so-called doctor sausage that we have is brought from the United States in 1930s. It's
by
when
a doctor.
not by a doctor. So early Soviet era, when they had absolutely no proper food at all right, because like Soviets didn't give a shit about people,
Yeah.
and therefore they decided to go and uh, like borrow recipes, all right.
Hmm.
So everything that those fans of the Soviet Union, everything they love so much is uh, actually something borrowed from the United States, because the so-called Soviet plombyr ice cream was brought from the United States, and Soviets and especially Russians, they just enjoy plombyr. They're like, that is the best Soviet ice cream ever, which was taken, like the recipe was taken from the United States, and the very factory for producing ice cream was also like borrowed from the United States. Then the doctor's sausage, that also like Soviet Union was famous for, it comes from United States as well. One thing I still cannot understand, the Olivier salad.
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. Not my
Uh,
favorite, but it's okay.
well, it kind of, yeah. Generally, in post-Soviet countries, Olivier salad is generally consumed for like New Year or around New Year. People make that stuff. Um, Not sure where that comes from, because sounds like French, but
Yeah, yeah.
Um,
But are there olives in Olivier? I
no,
thought
no,
maybe that was it, or maybe there's someone who invented it named Olivia. That's what I always thought. That maybe you know.
I have
So
no
like maybe it
idea.
comes from Greece. You know.
Maybe it was like snatched from France.
Now that's the salad. That's the salad that has like a lot of beets in it, doesn't it? It's like fresh beets.
No, 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 no. That one is
Uriak.
that is something that kills me. Actually, that is something that I cannot eat. That one is called vinaigrette.
Oh yeah. So I do like that. I like that one, but not the
Yeah.
one that has fish. I can't deal with the one that it's like beets on top and then fish underneath. You know, a couple of my engineers got some of that the other day, and they loved it. It was the most amazing thing they'd ever tried in Ukraine, and I was like, no, because I hate fish. Well, no, that's not true. I love fish. I just don't like fish in my mouth. That's
Yeah.
all.
So it's called shuba, and
Oh, shuba. Yeah.
shuba means this generally. Yeah,
Oh,
but the
yeah. My
real
dudes were
one,
talking about shuba the other day.
yeah, but the one you're talking about is this one.
Yes. 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 Yeah, they were
Yeah,
talking about Shuba. At first, I thought they were saying Shlobo, but it turns out they were saying Shuba.
shuba.
Yeah, they
Yeah.
were all about the Shuba.
So you have one
Shlobo too,
layer.
maybe.
You have one layer of beets. You have one
Yeah,
layer of, I think, potato.
yeah.
Then there is like carrot, and then there is fish. And
Yeah,
actually, like when I
Ribsi.
eat shuba, I just throw away everything but fish.
Oh, really? Yeah. See, I will eat the top layers. See, we could totally do this together, Starsky. The next time, we have dinner together, I'll eat the top layers and you can eat the fish at the bottom. It'll work out great.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. I agree on that. Nothing will be wasted. Oh, okay. My dear friends, I think it's a good opportunity to call it a night because we're
Mm,
running towards the third hour of today's stream. And first of all, I would like to ask everyone there on the other side of the screen to visit the description for this stream, for this video, and check out this website. All right.
thank you very
Uh,
much. I really,
Please
really.
check it out. Please support James and his unit, Legendary Azov, the National Guard. We are basically colleagues because we worked together so many times before and after the full scale invasion. And also, I would like to say big thanks to all of our moderators, Newman, Katya, and Ellie there in the chat. And also, I would like to say big thanks to our members for helping my channel. But most of all, I would like to say big thanks to everyone who stands with Ukraine, who supports Ukrainian defenders and Ukrainian civilians, because this is the proper thing to do, right? Your support is absolutely, absolutely crucial for Ukrainians. And if you donate for anything, for drones, for generators, for civilians, for drones that save lives, for
Yeah,
drones that not always save lives, but do something opposite, but to the Russian terrorists, you
they,
must know
they
that
save
you are,
Ukrainian lives.
yes, you are saving innocent lives of Ukrainian people, and this is something absolutely fantastic. James, do you
Right.
have any message for our dear viewers?
Yeah, I want to thank everybody who tried out the new send a message to Vladimir Putin on a drone. And I got some feedback, and I will appreciate anybody who can give me feedback on that if it's working for you. And I want to expand this, do this more, because now that we're pushing these drones out, why not? It's just fantastic, and I just want you to know that if you're supporting us, like, that goes directly to things that we need just on a daily basis. And that we really need that stuff. It's not it's not going through some charity or anything else. It's going directly to us. So thank you, thank you, thank you. And Ukraine and Ukrainians need to know that the world supports Ukraine. A lot of Ukrainians just, for some reason, just don't know that. They're not exposed to the Western media. They don't know how much support is coming in from individuals like yourselves. I mean, and they know that, oh, Europe is given this and that and the other thing, but they don't know how many individuals with, $10 here, $100 there, are supporting Ukraine every day and making things happen. And, so your help and your support, I can go to my battalion, my commanders who are Ukrainian, and say, look, Americans, Europeans, they are helping us and they're behind us. And it means so much, and it helps in so many ways.
Absolutely, I agree on that. Before the full-scale invasion, I could never imagine that, so many people from all around the world would even care about us.
Yep.
But I turns out I was so wrong.
Yeah.
So, my dear friends, thank you so much once again. Please treat yourself with something good. I know that a lot of you are pretty hungry at this point, so treat yourself. We all deserve that. And thank you so much for watching. We'll see you next time. Bye bye. Glory to Ukraine.
Slava Ukraine.
Героям слава.
Mm.